Hello, everybody, and welcome to this conversation that we are having with July's featured grantee, the Iqra Fund. I have with me a guest, Genevieve Walsh, who is the founder and the executive director of the Iqra Fund. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Genevieve is joining us from Bozeman, Montana. And of course, I have Amy with me, our technology coordinator, who's going to make sure that this goes without a hitch. So, Genevieve, I believe you have a presentation to share with us. We would be delighted to hear it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to share Iqra Fund's story and the girls and communities that Money for Women will be supporting this year. 11 years ago, I first traveled to Pakistan to trek in these gorgeous Karakoram mountains. My background was in education, so naturally I was drawn to the schools. And that first trip I met this young girl named Ikra. It was just over a year after a devastating earthquake flattened her region in Azad Kashmir on the Pakistan side of the border. Over 100,000 people died and 3.5 million people were homeless. This young girl, Ikra, survived because just after 8 in the morning, as everyone was gathering in school, including her mother, who was a teacher, and her siblings and the rest of her extended family, cousins, she went outside of her school to collect water. And it was during that time that she was outside of the school that the earthquake hit and her school collapsed. Ikra translates to read from Arabic. And so Ikra's father and mother named her Ikra when she was an infant, giving her this gift of having education be her name. And true to her name, after the earthquake flattened her school, Ikra was determined to learn, and she knew that this was the only way that her community would survive after this devastating tragedy. And so she gathered all of the children in tents, and she continued the schools for the children of that village. So close to 2 years later, when I met her, most of her community was still living in tents, not just because they couldn't afford to rebuild, but they were too afraid to live in 4 walls and under a roof. Ikra was still continuing to advocate for the schooling of all of the other children who survived. After meeting Ikra and traveling through this region in the north and meeting these young girls and mothers and fathers who so wanted a better future for their children through education. Many of them in these villages did not have access to education at all. And some communities like Ikra's did have access to education, but there's only so far that the girls could go with limited resources. So I was inspired to focus my doctoral research to better understand why more than half of the children in Pakistan didn't go to school. That's right, more than half of the children in Pakistan currently are not in school. I wanted to better understand why there were so many barriers to education for these girls and boys. And so I spent 4 years of research, half of those years in Pakistan, immersive research to develop a model that would work, that not only could provide access to quality education, but would reduce dropout rates and would provide opportunities for girls to continue their education through their professions after school, and to support their mothers and fathers to better support their children to succeed in school. This is Belgis, one of our first preschool students 8 years ago in 2011 when we founded Ikra. I first met Belgis in the morning. Her mother and father invited me over for tea and boiled eggs, and they were just waking up after sleeping all together on a thin rug covering a dirt floor in the cold Karakoram Mountains in the spring. Pakistan, the northern Karakoram Mountains border India, China, and Afghanistan, and are above 10,000 feet in the villages where we're working in. And these subsistence-based farming communities are only able to eke out 1 crop a year. So that's one reason why they have few to send their children to school. Belgis's father was one of her biggest advocates. In fact, he began volunteering for Iqra Fund in his community. This is a recent photo of Belkis. She's proudly at the top of her class at 11 years old. And when we ask her what she wants to be when she grows up, she explains that she would like to be a lady doctor because she lives in a region with one of the highest infant and maternal mortality rates in the world because of the lack of education for women. And she wants to change that. And with Dining for Women support, she and many other girls will change that. In the 8 years since our founding, we've established 22 schools in 4 mountain valleys, and we have over 3,000 students enrolled with over 70 teachers that we've hired and provide professional development. And we've trained more than 1,000 teachers in partnership with the British Council and USAID. But last year, 97% of our 5th grade girls in our school passed their national exams, compared to the countrywide average of 57%. So this created a challenge for us. We now have a cohort of 66 girls this year that are transitioning into middle school. And we have 284 girls that will be entering middle school in the next 2 years. Now, the girls you're looking at here are scholarship students that are in the city that we support with scholarships. But they are living more than 8 hours away from home and rarely see their families. With the Dining for Women grant, we're going to be able to provide teachers and support for the 66 girls transitioning into middle school this year, as well as setting up a successful system for the 284 girls who will be entering school for the next 2 years. And we'll be providing educational opportunities and workshops for all of their mothers so that they can help manage their own workload and time, so that that's what makes school attendance for these girls possible in the first place. But the mothers also are dreaming big, and we are supporting them as well. This is one of the mothers that the Dining for Women grant will support. She was 14 when she got married and had her first child. Now at 31, she has 6 children. 5 of them are in the Iqra Fund programs. And this is her eldest daughter, 16-year-old Roxana. She's been an Iqra Fund scholarship student for 5 years and is now attending high school in the city, 8 hours away from her village. She describes herself as strong and wants to become a doctor so she can serve women in Baltistan. She would be the first woman or man. The Dining for Women grant will be supporting all of the young girls that look up to Roxana and know that they can have a future with education. So thank you so much for committing to our girls and for your generous support. I'm excited to help answer any questions you might have about our girls, the program, and the region.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. I wanted to talk about a film that has been out there, produced by one of your board members called Girls Section. And actually, the URL for that film is in the project fact sheets that most of our chapters will be looking at. Can you explain to us what that film was about and how Ikra was connected to it, if at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Girls Section is an inspiring 10-minute film. I encourage everyone to watch it. It shows the resilience and determination of the young girls of Gilgit-Baltistan in northern Pakistan that are only just now having the opportunity to go to school. And in meeting these girls in the film, you will see that they are the change makers. These girls will change the face of Pakistan and the region, and we do feel the ripple effects globally. You'll also have an opportunity in the film to meet the fathers and community leaders and teachers, these men who have rallied behind their daughters and their sisters and their nieces. They are these girls' greatest advocates. And these girls fought for that. They went to their fathers and uncles and brothers and teachers and said, I want this opportunity. And their mothers and grandmothers also rallied behind them. You recognize in the video that the community leaders, the men, the fathers, the teachers, mothers, the aunties, the grandmas, they're all taking a great risk in providing these girls with their dreams but they want to take that risk for the first generation of girls to go to school because they see that these girls are going to have an amazing future and they're going to change the opportunities for generations to come.
Mhm. So in the film, this is the girls section 10-minute film. You do reference the fact that the schools were attacked by the Taliban, but none of these schools were the Iqra schools. This is the region. So the people like in the film are all from the region. So moving on from that, can we talk specifically about the Iqra Fund and the Iqra schools? Tell us how the Dining for Women grant is transforming this little village of yours.
So the Dining for Women grant will be investing in the Basha Valley, where we have the majority of our programs and where we have this cohort of 66 girls that have passed the 5th grade and that are ready for middle school. If it weren't for the Dining for Women grant, we wouldn't have been able to provide all of these girls with the opportunity to study in middle school next year. See, this is being an 8-year-old organization now that most of our girls are going into 6th grade and 7th grade. We need to establish a robust middle school program that will keep these girls in school because their families, it's too challenging for them and such an opportunity cost and risk for them to send these girls to the city. So this grant is helping keep these girls close to home with a very quality education that will continue on through high school.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about girls who have graduated from the middle school and how they are serving their communities presently.
Yeah, we have a handful of girls that had been going to school in the city that we were able to take on and support with scholarships. And scholarships, as you can see, even with our Dining for Women grant, we see that for a girl to succeed in school, it's not just providing them with access to a teacher and books. We are investing in the girls, in their mothers' capacity and training as well. Our students' parents need to be very involved and supportive. And so we established something similar to like a PTA group or system that we would have here, parents and teachers gathering together. So many of our girls that are in high school and have graduated are coming back to their communities during their breaks and holidays or after they've completed school and either working as teachers or tutoring or volunteering in the classrooms or in some sort of healthcare capacity.
Wonderful. So not only are you transforming the lives of all these girls, you're also transforming the communities. Tell us what the community wants. What do the mothers and the parents and the grandparents want?
When I talk with the mothers, something that I continue to hear over and over again is that I want my daughter's life to be better than my own. And they explain, I was married at 14. I had never met my husband. And my daughter will be able to continue her education and she won't get married until she's done with her education. And she, with our family, will be able to celebrate her independence and her resilience and strength. And something special about the Iqra Fund program is that the girls and the boys go to school together. So not only will she be able to continue her education and get married later in life, but the young man that she eventually marries, if he were from these communities, he will have an education as well. And he will have gone to school with these girls and he'll respect girls as equals. And that's something special that I see the mothers and the grandmothers and the fathers respect and recognize.
The mothers also want some kind of schooling and literacy classes. They also want to get onto the bandwagon, correct?
Yeah, during our first 2 years of operations, we quickly learned that we would need to provide a literacy program for the mothers. We knew that we wanted to provide support for the mothers, but in our kindergarten and first grade classrooms, the mothers were piling in and we didn't have room on the floor for them to take the kindergarten and first grade classes with their children. And so we started a literacy program for the mothers that ended up working out really well to do throughout the winter when they're busy working in the fields.
Absolutely wonderful. See how far you've come, Genevieve, from collecting data for your doctoral dissertation to building a movement here in these villages of Pakistan. Dining for Women family wishes you the absolute very best in bringing the transformation to these communities. I wanted to remind our members that if they watch the girls section film, that is about schools in the region, the government schools. It's none of the Ikra schools. The Taliban did destroy some of those schools, but the community has come roaring back. And Ikra is helping to strengthen the schools in the villages that they work in so that these communities can actually have their dreams and see their dreams come true. Genevieve, best of luck to you and your staff who are in the field. The communities in you work in are absolutely wonderful and charming, and you clearly bring out how isolated these communities are in all the videos. So thank you so much for giving us such wonderful visuals. Good
Oh,
luck.
thank you so much for the opportunity to partner with Dining for Women during such a milestone year for us, seeing all of these girls continue on into middle school and being able to support their mothers as well. Thank you so much for that partnership.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.